Abuja in north-central Nigeria to Lagos in southwest Nigeria, Port Harcourt in the south-south and oil-rich Niger Delta to Kano in northwest Nigeria. One feature of the big cities in this part of the world is the flyovers that dot the major highways across the metropolis. In the last 2 decades, it has become a status symbol for a number of the 36 states across the Federation to embark on the construction of multi-billion naira flyover bridges in their respective state capitals. From Kaduna in northwest Nigeria to Yenagoa in Bayelsa State, south-south Nigeria, and then Jos, the capital of Plateau State in north-central Nigeria, to now Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State, southwest Nigeria. State governors today pride themselves as constructing the first ever flyover bridges in their respective states. As we speak, only 14 of the 36 states have flyover bridges that are in use in their respective state capitals. These include Uyo in Akwa Ibom State, Yenagoa in Bayelsa State, Calabar in Cross River State, Asaba in Delta State, and Kaduna in Kaduna State. Others are Kano in Kano State, Ilorin in Kwara State, Ikeja in Lagos State, and Abeokuta in Ogun State. The rest are Ibadan in Oyo State, Jos in Plateau State, Port Harcourt in Rivers State, and Sokoto in Sokoto State. Construction work is ongoing on different overhead bridges in 5 other state capitals across the Federation. These are Awka in Anambra State, Abakaliki in Ebonyi State, Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State, Osogbo in Osun State, and Owerri in Imo State. The story of the flyover bridges in Owerri, the capital of Imo State in southeast Nigeria, is however that of controversy which have continued to trail the now 6-year-old project that has remained uncompleted. It's time for Straight Talk, and thanks for joining us here in Nigeria and from around the world. I am TYAV in Abuja. Welcome. On today's edition of the program, we shall take you to the eastern heartland, that is Imo State, where the capital city of that southeastern state has been opened up with new layouts in the last few years, but then the provision and upgrading of some infrastructure and facilities across the metropolis seem to have created more problems than they were intended to solve.
What I've done in that state, put about 24 years of governance in Imo State cannot equal what I've done in 5 years, and that's my word of honor. Believe me, I'm not kidding. And I stand to be challenged. You can come down yourself with your cameras, with your position, and let me take you down. Can I shock you, my friend? Let me tell you, there's no single structure that is in our capital city that was not built by this man here, that is of government. There's no any government structure existing when we came to Imo State. I believe in the capital city. We're building 3 tunnels, the first tunnel, second tunnel, the third tunnel, and another construction. And this is thinking future, because I'm thinking about 100 years from now, what Owerri will look like. That's the imagination that is driving this whole construction. And with that, I can assure you that in the next 50 years, Imo State will not be talking about news within the capital city. With the flyovers, with the tunnels, with the first inland road, second inland road, third inland road, fourth inland road, fifth inland road.
Governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, in a self-assessment of his 6-year-old administration, 3 of the capital projects by his administration are, however, now defining his tenure as governor of the state, which he had failed in his first attempt in 1999 to govern when he lost in the primaries of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. What you are looking at is part of an overhead bridge here in Owerri, Imo State. It is one of the few critical infrastructure being provided by the state government. But what we also know about this project that is right behind me is the fact that construction work started on it somewhere around in 2010, and this has run through like 2 administrations now. And what we can see of the project, it is still far from being completed. This is one of the two overhead bridges in the Imo State capital. The projects were originally initiated by the administration of Ikedi Hakim, who was the state governor between 2007 and 2011. But the flyovers have remained uncompleted for over 6 years and counting. Governor Okorocha says he pulled down the whole structure put up by his predecessor and started the construction of the new flyovers afresh from the scratch. But then the quality of what we saw on the ground during our visits to the project sites, when compared with those we have seen in places like Jos, the capital of Plateau State, where Governor Okorocha grew up, easily come across as two projects which the contractors are struggling with.
I think that probably is one of the best flyovers you can think about in this country. And it's not the one that's after construction, you put the barrier to say trucks not above 30 tons. This one you can take 100 tons. You can take as many trailers as possible can go across it. So it's a solidly well-built flyover by an Irish company. So I think we want to say that the flyover is not of standard. It's not true. I think you can go to see it yourself, and I think people have been present there for long. People have been talking about it.
We visited the second overhead bridge at Amawaya Okigwe Road, and this is what we also saw. A flyover nearing completion, but the finishing leaves a lot of questions on the lips of many. Cracks here and there on a flyover that has not been put to use, patches to mend parts of the bridge, and the road already breaking up. Then the road to the flyover itself was yet to be constructed. The height of the overhead bridge is also another issue. It is hardly different from the Kau flyover bridge constructed in the capital of Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, during the administration of Governor Ahmed Mekarfi, which is now to be reconstructed and expanded with 5 serial rotaries, roundabouts, and service lanes by the administration of Governor Nasir El-Rufai. The Kau overhead bridge, which cannot be used by trucks, is also where President Muhammadu Buhari, as a private citizen, escaped a bomb blast said to have been targeted at him by members of the Boko Haram terrorist group in July 2014. This is, however, in contrast with the 4.69 billion naira project in Jos, Plateau State, where the second overhead bridge located at the famous Secretariat Junction has been completed after over 3 years of construction work undertaken by the two administrations of Governor Jonah Jang and now Governor Simon Lalong between July 2013 and 2016. The Plateau State government had planned to deliver on 3 flyover bridges, with the other 2 to have been constructed at the ever-busy Old Airport Junction and the traffic-grounded British America Junction. While only the overhead bridge at Secretariat Junction has been delivered so far, the Jos Metropolis had its first ever flyover bridge at the Gadabu area of the city sometime in 2012. In Owerri, the construction of the 2 overhead bridges in Imo State has rather raised a lot of concerns, leading to even petitions to the Council for the Regulation of Engineering, COREN, over the quality of the projects.
You can see there's no quality. That's not the ideal overhead bridge that I know. I cannot try it. I cannot climb up that bridge, no matter how long it stays, because definitely that thing will collapse. Again, it will collapse.
If at all they complete the projects, is you make Amakoya apartment to look beautiful because of the flyover down here. I'm not against what Excellency display, but what I'm doing is that let Excellency to complete the mission. We are suffering from erosion over here.
The Governor Rochas Okorocha administration had given different dates for the completion of the flyover projects, with the most recent being the self-imposed deadline of the first quarter of 2016, which was given when the governor undertook an inspection of the flyover on Okigwe Road by Oji roundabout in December 2015. But away from the over 6-year delay in the completion of the projects, we have confirmed that there are petitions written against the quality of the construction work on the two overhead bridges. This took us to the national headquarters of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, at number 22 Addis Ababa Crescent in Zone 4 of Wuse District in Abuja, the nation's capital, where the Registrar Engineer Kamila Maliki confirmed that indeed the Council launched an investigation into the flyover bridges projects.
The complaint is such that the people are raising alarm as to the defective nature of work, and since we are on ground in Owerri, we forwarded the letter to our engineering regulation and monitoring committee to investigate the work and give us a report. We can stop the job because if it is a government project, the good thing is to get the client, which is the government, to tell the government that what you are doing will not give value for money, will threaten the life and existence of your citizenry. And if we do all this and the government will not stop, we'll write to ICPC to join us to stop whatever is happening.
The flyover bridge projects are not the only ones with questions raised about the quality of construction work by residents of the Imo State capital. There are also these tunnels which the state government parades as the first to be constructed by any governor in that state. What you are looking at is the tunnel on Port Harcourt Road in Owerri that has been completed and put to use. The so-called tunnel is usually flooded with water anytime it rains, and any motorist that mistakenly attempts to drive through at the peak of the rains is sure to get stuck there, like this unfortunate minibus was, and had to wait for the water to recede. It was interesting that we visited the tunnel a day after a heavy downpour the previous night. What we also saw was a group of men using a pumping machine to pump out the rainwater to empty the tunnel and make it free again for use by motorists. We were told the pumping exercise is what brought down the water level to what we met at the time of our visit.
Somebody can say that it's really, really bad of a government and a workman that did this job. They didn't assess the drainage, whatever. They didn't include drainage stuffs in the construction, and since then it's been causing untold, havoc, to people who ply this road, who use the tunnel. So there is no use to have a tunnel when you can't use it during rains, or when you can't use it when it rains. It means nothing.
The funny thing about the tunnel is when the rain falls, you cannot pass this tunnel. You can see the water level. It's just that they are using generator to pump it out. It's just an embarrassment to the people. And this road was good before. They just came to destroy it because they are doing tunnel. I don't understand the tunnel.
As we speak, there are a number of tunnels the state government plans to provide across Owerri, the state capital. The completed tunnel along Port Harcourt Road is perhaps the only project the state governor, Rochas Okorecha, admits has an engineering and structural defect.
There's nothing wrong with the tunnel. this tunnel also, it's not wrong with it, but what happened that is the drainage system that they're trying. I know we're consulting during the rains. And that's the major highway that brings in traffic into Imo State. So as we're doing it, we had a limited time. But when they saw the water gather, they said it was a bad job. How could that be a bad job? Your motors and cars are going over it. So the drainage system, which they're working on now to link to the major drainage something, is the issue. But as we're doing this, when we're further, because if we don't do this, we have only a few months of dry season in the southeast. You have only 3 months of dry season. So you must work during the run to be able to achieve. If not, that's why most governments in the past could not do well, because they're waiting for dry season.
Attention has not been drawn to it, but I can add this to the part of the investigation that our people can do. But I know definitely if you have to do a tunnel, you must drain it. And the provision must have taken care of the draining. But if you look at Owerri, the rainfall in Owerri, from my study, is even above that of Lagos. Maybe there could be some error of judgment from the designer, which will say you will not be able to evacuate the amount of water that is stored in the tunnel after every particular rain, and they have to wait for some time for the water to percolate and go. So, but we like the challenge, and I believe there can be a way of designing around the problem.
Just maybe there is a lesson or two for Imo State in neighboring Enugu State that parades a number of tunnels along its township roads and highways of that state capital. This is one of the tunnels across Enugu metropolis that is in good shape, specials, and can indeed be used by motorists with different types of vehicles. One thing you cannot take away from Imo State is the fact that its capital city of Owerri is like a construction site with different capital projects scattered across the metropolis. But it also seems each of these projects has one controversy or the other trailing it. For instance, there is the expansion of the Olu Road where several structures were demolished to give way for the construction work. We are told shops owned by small businessmen, women and traders were pulled down. And this was in the same manner property owned by churches, schools and private citizens along the affected road were reduced to rubbles in one sweep without any of the affected persons or institutions having the opportunity to exercise any right they thought they have.
They didn't come about negotiation. I believe they didn't come about any negotiation. If at all due to court was on strike, then no person or no one, Excellency didn't send anyone to come about negotiation. What they come and mark, remove. Before it's not up to 3 weeks, they started pulling all those things out. Let him look about poor people who have some shop, local shop will destroy. I have about 4 shop here, no compensation. So if at all the Excellency will plead and settle some poor people who have shops here, it's very okay.
For most of the residents not directly affected by the demolition, the over 4 to 6 months it took the state government to construct the road after leaving the project unattended to were most inconveniencing and a display of perhaps insensitivity to the welfare of the people. We gathered that for the length of time the project was abandoned, residents of neighborhoods along the road hardly had access to their homes, especially when it rained, and then they had to live in darkness, having been thrown into total darkness with the pulling down of the electric poles that supply power to the area. Governor Rochas, however, insists that the road expansion project is for the larger good of the state, especially residents of Owerri, and that the government did not demolish houses, and so the calls for compensation by those reportedly affected are misplaced.
We should investigate. When they say they pull down properties, which properties have been pulled down? I'll go down to see whose house has been pulled down. Now remember the law says 25 meters away from the road for construction. That's the law. That's the law. Anywhere in Nigeria, that's the law. In the state, that's the law. But what I'm doing here is not even 10 meters away from the road. People come right to the road and put in shanties and containers. So when you remove containers, you have destroyed the structure. But there are some, maybe one or two structures I can't remember, that we even have to, I did as much as possible avoiding and bending to make sure no structure is touched. But what we did mainly was those who attacked their shanties or what we call shops on the fence, using the fence grill as the door. These are the people that will just clear the place. And the state is looking beautiful. But if you are that, I've set up a committee. In case there's anywhere I don't know. I've set up a committee now, chaired by the former Deputy Secretary of Police, to now investigate. And if anybody has complained of any sort that my house has been pulled down, bring your paper, bring your approved drawing plan, bring your CFO, if there's any, and then, but if you don't have that claim and you say we destroyed the shanty, then you have to pay government for helping remove the shanties from the road.
The experience in Ado-Ekiti, the capital of Ekiti State, is however different. The governor, Ayodele Fayose, had personally met with those whose properties were to be affected by construction of roads and other capital projects, including the Flyover bridge to be executed by the state government. Governor Fayose has personally issued checks to those affected by the new projects to the tune of 200 million naira. And even when the checks had not been given out, construction work went on without issues or controversies trailing them, with the state government having engaged the affected persons from the very beginning. We are talking about the 1.5-kilometer long flyover bridge on the Fajuyi-Ojumeshe road in the state capital. The over 5 billion naira project is to be completed in a matter of years and will be the very first flyover bridge in that 20-year-old southwestern state. I am TYAV. Thanks for investing your time with us on the program Straight Talk. And let's also appreciate our partners, Media Dimensions, for their support. Goodbye from Abuja.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has scheduled the rerun election in Rivers State for Saturday, December 10, 2016. Once again, the people of Rivers State will have the chance to complete a process that started over 1.5 years ago as they elect their representatives in the national and state houses of assembly. So, how ready are the people of Rivers State to show that this time around